Hi, Yeshu Shukla works for the NGO Christian Aid. He has several years of experience in water and sanitation, rural livelihoods, disaster risk reduction, climate adaptation and emergency response and recovery. In this video, he will present an example of a community-based early warning system.
It's a very interesting question, the pilot that we are trying in the Tarai region. If you look at historically, Tarai region is both on the Indian Nepalese side, it's a highly backward region. There are a number of rivers that flows through that region. All of these rivers basically originate in Tibet, upstream Nepal, and they flow through into entire Nepal and then enter the Tarai region. This region is flat, flood prone, and regular floods are a common thing. In every year we have floods in these areas, and these are like a flash floods most of the times, so people do not give enough time to basically evacuate. Apart from the floods, I mean, this area, as I told you, has other complex problems as well, like it's a highly backward area, so the lack of education, lack of health infrastructure, and lack of access to reliable, trustworthy information, which is very critical to any early warning, is a common thing in that area. So the objective was basically to engage people to begin with in their own self-analysis of risk, their hazards and their capacities. And that's how we basically brought people on board, because that's very important with any early warning initiative. Technology is obviously one aspect of it, but technology is not the only answer. It's basically because from a sustainability point of view, we have to bring people on the board right from the beginning. The second important thing was, major objective was that we wanted it to be a community-to-community centered early warning system between the Indian communities and the Nepalese communities. So suppose if the technology fails, then what? Then people-to-people exchange still remains. And the third important element, I would say, is the capacity building. It's not only about early warning, preparedness and evacuation. It's also about doing other things in terms of DRR. Like DRR is a widespread field, so early warning is only for the monsoons. So what about the next remaining months? So we have engaged people in the participatory analysis. They have done the risk reduction planning, and based on those plannings, they have developed action plans. And based on that action plans, they have actually gone into to improve their education, health, and livelihood needs. Background preparatory activities are more important than actually introducing a technology in the community. So now when we are taking this technology to the newer villages, we are doing a lot of preparation in advance, which means we are trying to develop rapport with the people. We are trying to bring them on board. We are trying to make them aware about their risk and the need for this technology, and the benefits and the outcomes that lie ahead for them. The second important aspect is that how do you create safeguards, in the sense that suppose if we are using voice and text messaging to inform people about the rising water levels in the rivers, and they do not work at the time of the disaster, suppose the lines are down, then what? Then you have to introduce alternate means, alternate safeguard measures, like we have a repository of people who are connected through mobile, both on the Indian Nepalese side, so they can easily get in touch with their Nepalese counterpart, know the water levels, even if the voice and text messaging is not working. Third important thing, I would again say that, is that how do you create formal and informal communication channels? So formal institutional structures are important. Their capacity building, bringing them on board is really important. But more than the formal structures, what is important is to have some kind of an informal exchange going on between people to people, also with the people and the governments, and also on both sides of the borders. This system was tested for the first time in a real world situation. In 2013 floods, and we have been very pleased with the results that we received. In our analysis, we found that people had the information in advance, 8 hours in advance of the actual water entering their villages. So they had enough time to basically evacuate, not only evacuate, but actually do a lot of planning, how to evacuate, what they need to carry along with them, what they need to leave. And so they were able to basically take care of their belongings, the food, the livestock, everything to a safer place, and they stayed there and they came back safely. So not even a single death was reported in that disaster, which in my view is a great outcome. I mean, if you look at from the saving lives perspective. only, but they were also able to save some of their household belongings, their livestock, which is equal to livelihoods in the rural community, because a lot of your livelihoods are dependent on your livestock, and it's an asset. So that again is both linked to lives and livelihoods. That's one aspect of it. Some of the things that we realized that we need to give more space to the people, because a lot of human potential was realized during this disaster, because a lot of people came forward and we were able to see, who are the emerging natural leaders from the communities and who could be further trained and used in similar situations, not only from the evacuation and rescue point of view, but also for taking this initiative to other villages as well. We realized that this technology works for the first time in the real world situation, so this can be scaled up, and so we are going step by step now. What we are trying to do is we are trying to include more number of people in the repository that we have for disseminating warnings. So there would be more number of people, so that we would be able to cover more areas, and we don't want to go really quick on that aspect, because there is some amount of sensitivity that is involved in terms of releasing warnings in the Indian context and also in the Nepalese context. So we want to take care that we go in a procedural manner where we take the local authorities in confidence before we release these warnings, and but we would certainly be we are taking measures to basically include more number of people, thinking that this can work for more number of people in the similar geography. One of the key challenges that we face is on sustainability and scaling up. A potential answer to this particular question on sustainability and the scaling up could be more vigorous engagements of community, where we are basically downsizing the dependence on technology per se, and we are trying to realize the fullest potential of human capital. And that is only possible with the proximity that we work with them, and it's not only about communicating from distance, but it's also about being physically present with them. We don't want this initiative to be a project. We want to make it as a process, so it goes beyond the project life, and that can only be possible when people take this initiative entirely in their own hands. Another challenge is, about the DRR. DRR, everyone understands that investing in DRR makes a lot of sense. $1 invested in DRR can actually save many more dollars. But unfortunately, with donors, with governments, DRR and early warning both remains a low priority issue, and so another challenge is, how do you basically create a buy-in for such a initiative, which is so crucial to save lives and livelihoods of people at risk. So one way of doing it, that you do a pilot, you create an evidence, and you basically show to the policymakers that this is how it works. So that could be one way of basically saying that, okay, this works, and this doesn't require too much of money. So it's very important to engage women so that they are able to basically engage more women, because women will only have access to women in that society. So men would rather not have access to women. So how do we actually bring that gender balance not only in our project teams, so that there are more women in our project, and they are able to talk to women and bring them on board, and in turn we can create equal participation of both men and women. So from a community perspective, that's a major challenge, looking at the cultural aspects and the social aspects of the communities that we work in.